Hello everyone, my name is Misbah. Welcome back to another video. I've started today's video by sharing footage of a church in Wilmslow. I went to Wilmslow shopping and I noticed that the church was open to the public, and inside people were lighting candles and saying prayers and signing a book of condolence for Her Majesty the Queen. So I stopped in there to sign the book as well, and I asked for permission to film in the church, which they allowed, and I've just shared a little bit of footage with you. So now in this part of my video, I will do a book review. In autumn, when it's quite cold outside, I like to curl up with a cosy mystery, and my famous cosy mystery writer is Agatha Christie. So today's book review is Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie, and basically it's a book in three parts. So it starts as a courtroom drama, and a young woman called Eleanor Carlisle is accused of the murder of another young woman, Mary Gerard. We then go into Eleanor's head as she lives past events that have led her to this point. So the first part of the novel we see from Eleanor's perspective. So Eleanor was engaged to a young man called Roddy, and then she received an anonymous note saying that somebody was trying to take Eleanor's place in the affections of her aunt, Mrs. Wellman. So Eleanor and Roddy rush to be with Mrs. Wellman. Mrs. Wellman is an invalid. She is looked after by servants and two nurses and a doctor, Dr. Peter Lord. There's also a young woman there, Mary Gerard. Mary is the daughter of one of the servants, and she has become a favourite with Mrs. Wellman and is now her close companion. So in the book then, Mrs. Wellman dies of a stroke, and then a few days later, Mary Gerard dies of poisoning. And so Eleanor has the motive for her aunt because she will inherit, and the motive for Mary Gerard because she sees her as a love rival. And Eleanor has motive, she has opportunities because she's there, and so the case looks really bad for her. The second part of the book then is Hercule Poirot's investigation. So we see the story being told by him. And then at the end, the final part is a courtroom drama. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the courtroom drama scenes, but I also enjoyed it because it felt like a romance novel with a murder in the middle. So you had a series of unrequited romances. So at the beginning, Dr. Peter Lord asks Hercule Poirot to help Eleanor and to find out the truth, because he's in love with Eleanor, even though Eleanor doesn't care for him. Eleanor is a very quiet and aloof young woman, but when we enter her thoughts, we find that she is possessively and deeply in love with Roddy, her fiancé. And Roddy, when he initially seems to care for Eleanor, but then when he sees Mary Gerard and he sees how beautiful and how lovely she is, he falls head over heels in love with Mary Gerard. Mary Gerard doesn't care for him. She's polite and nice to him, but she doesn't reciprocate his feelings. And it's hinted that Mary Gerard has a young man who she was going out with, but when she's elevated by Mrs. Wellman, then she doesn't fit into with the servants anymore, and so her relationship with this young man is broken off. And so I see it as lots of romances where they're unrequited. And Agatha Christie wrote romance novels with the name of Mary Westmacott, and I've read one of her romances called Absent in the Spring, and I really enjoyed that. And I feel that this was a little bit like Agatha Christie writing like Mary Westmacott, but then putting in the character of Hercule Poirot and turning it into a murder investigation as well. So I enjoyed the book and I recommend it. It's a little bit different. It has Hercule Poirot in the middle of the book, so he's not the main character, but he still solves the crime. And then I enjoyed the courtroom scenes at the end. So that's Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. So in the next part of my video, I thought I would share with you my attempt at making a banana loaf. It's a cross between a cake and banana bread, so it's a cross there. And I followed a recipe that I found on BBC Good Foods, so it was a really simple, straightforward recipe. And I just thought I would share my attempt with you because it came out delicious. I really enjoyed eating it, and it's such an easy recipe and it's so comforting on a cold day to have something like that. So that's the second part of my video.
So first of all, I buttered a loaf tin and then I lined it with parchment paper. So next, the recipe asks you to cream together sugar and butter, 140 grams of each. I'm using dark brown sugar and that gave a richer flavour, but any sugar will work. Unfortunately, my butter came straight out of the fridge, even though the recipe suggested softened butter. So I struggled for 10 minutes trying to get a creamy consistency. Then when it didn't work, I heated the sugar and butter mixture over a pan of boiling water. This meant the butter melted and the sugar dissolved. However, the cake or banana loaf came out perfectly fine in the end, and I've actually read some other recipes where they use vegetable oil. So I don't think it's really possible to ruin this recipe. Now I'm adding 140 grams of self-raising flour and mixing that in. So now break 2 eggs and beat them into the mixture. So you've basically made a cake mixture here. Next, I chopped and mashed 2 bananas and then added them to my mixture. The recipe says the bananas should be overripe, the skin should be almost black, but I've used normal bananas and my bread still had a banana flavour. However, I think it would be better if you used overripe bananas. I then added a tablespoon of vanilla extract and then remembered that I'd forgotten to add a teaspoon of baking soda. At this stage, you could even add chocolate chips or some nuts into the mixture. So pour the mixture into the loaf tin and it goes in the oven for 50 minutes, gas mark 4 or 180 degrees. Halfway through, you could actually cover the top with aluminium foil if you feel that it's going to burn. And you know it's done when a spoon comes out cleanly. Enjoy. For the final part of today's video, I've come to Stockport. Here we can see the historical market. It has an outdoor and indoor area. As well as the traditional fruit and veg stall, there's also some vintage stalls and a bustling cafe area. But the reason why I've come to Stockport today is because I want to visit a historical house called Staircase House. It's the oldest townhouse in Stockport. It was built in 1460. The house is famous for its ornate Jacobean staircase. What I really liked about my visit was that the different rooms were decorated to show different periods in history. The tour starts in the basement with the kitchen and the servants' quarters. It was a large kitchen. The family were obviously prosperous, and since the house was in the middle of town, there would have been lots of visitors. From the kitchen, we go up the stairs to the first floor, where there is a Regency-style parlour. The family were obviously wealthy, middle class, and their interests would have included literature and music. Next, we have the Georgian dining room with its bright colours on the wall and its lavish porcelain and silverware. Next, we go upstairs to one of the bedrooms. Note the thick covers and curtains. The final room was one that was set in the 1940s. The government had introduced rationing of coal and food, so it seems very Spartan compared to the other rooms. I really found my visit to Staircase House fascinating. I hope you've found this little glimpse into its history interesting. Thanks for watching. See you next time.